Good morning, YouTube. My name is Amisbro, and for this video we are doing an episode of the anime review series. And this one is called Pandora Hearts. Yes. Pandora Hearts, well, let me read the plot to you as we have it on the wiki here. The plot goes like this. Oz Vasalis, is the heir to the Vasalis Duke House. He has just turned 15, and his life is rich and carefree, darkened only by the constant absence of his father. At his coming-of-age ceremony, everything changes. For no reason that he can discern, Oz is cast into the prison known as the Abyss, only to be saved by a girl known as Alice, the blood-stained black rabbit. The mystery there begins as Oz unravels the mystery behind Alice, the Abyss, and the strange organization known as Pandora. Okay. Now, I read that to you, and I know what you're probably thinking. Oh, this will be an easy story to be able to figure out start to finish. No. The way it was done as far as the anime goes, first off, if a series is going to be 25 episodes, you have to cut out all the BS. You have to give enough that we can be able to get from start to finish, especially if you're only running one season, and they did only run one season. Okay, so I want to make that clear. Now, there is, let me see here, there is an OVA that's like 9 parts, but unfortunately, the site which I watched it on only has the first 25. So if there is a conclusive ending to this series, I haven't seen it. Okay? But from what I saw, the story is a bit of a mess. Because of that, the character development is all over the place. And you have a very hard time being able really to tell at times who's the protagonist, who's the antagonist. It shouldn't be that friggin' hard. But it has what I call Black Butler syndrome. See, this show, to me, okay, if you watched this before you watched Black Butler, you wouldn't be able to make similarities to it. Because I watched Black Butler first, you looked at this and you can go, okay, wait a minute. Because you have Oz, who's the lead character, who has a who's a lord. He has an assistant, butler/assistant, named Gilbert. Okay? And they work together. Now, here's the thing. You also have Alice. Alice is a chain, as we find out. And she has to make a contract, see what I'm saying, with Oz. So you have these three elements, and you immediately go, oh fuck, I'm watching a Black Butler clone. Because that was immediately what I thought when I was watching this. And the way it was paced was pretty much the same thing. The other thing they did with this series, which ordinarily I don't mind, but I minded it here, they used flashbacks a lot. Now, that's not a problem if I know I'm watching more than one season, and if I know that by the time I get through all the episodes, we are going to have a conclusive ending. My issue is, I didn't get that. At all. See, animation-wise, I'm not going to bag on it because we're talking like 2009 here. Okay? So I'm not going to scream about the animation. characters, there's too many. Okay. They gave you too many people to legitimately try to remember who the hell everybody is. Okay. And because of the way the story was told, which was in many different pieces, it made it harder for me to really care about a character. Because, okay, do this. Early in the show, early in the series, we meet Sharon Rainsworth and Xavier's Brick. Okay? We'll just call him Brick. They work for a group called Pandora. Okay. Fine. We immediately think, well, Pandora's the protagonist, and they're going to help this guy. But the way Break is wrote, for a very good portion of the initial set of episodes, you immediately think, oh, wait a minute, he's a bad guy. He's a bad guy, and Oz formed an illegal contract with this chain named Alice, the bloodstained black rabbit, so he's automatically a bad guy. Who's the good guy? The other reason you can think that Brick was an evil son of a bitch was because at one point in the early episodes, he takes the we'll call it the sleeve of his sword, and he's smacking Alice with it. Now, we all know my thoughts on a man hitting a woman, even if it's realistically a demon, right? Well, they do that here. Now, okay, I get what they were trying to do, but it didn't make me care more about Brick. It just made me want to say, kill this motherfucker. Okay? What ended up happening was you end up with a problem where you have them. You also have Gilbert, who was the assistant to Oz. Well, Oz, when he was in the Abyss, he was in there for like 10 years, apparently. Now, how the hell 10 years goes by between the time he was... Because legitimately, it may have been like 1 to 2 episodes, realistically. How does 10 years go by in there? Well, the way they explain it is time gets distorted in the Abyss. So you could be in there for 5 minutes, 15 years go by. That's literally what they're trying to tell you. So you're sitting there going, okay. By that rate and privilege, if we're going through that logic, then when we're watching Black Butler, when CL is kind of like floating there with the red sheet over him at the top of season 1, and if you're going by that, then from the time that he's floating in there to the time that he comes back, you would think, you know, time's advanced a little bit. He's not in Victorian England anymore. He's in modern day England. I don't know. I'm just saying. But anyway, it's a strange comparison, but the problem is the way this series was wrote as far as characters go sometimes. You could have legitimately thought you were watching a cheapened version of Black Butler. The funniest part is the studio that did this series was NIS America. No, I'm not kidding. Well, at least they licensed it. Characters that you meet sometimes, when you met characters like Oscar, or you met Break, or you met Alice, I sat there and I was trying to figure out to myself, what about these characters do I really, really like? What makes them likable? What makes me want to root for them? I couldn't think of anything, really. It was a series that potentially had a lot of promise, but there was a lot that just fell flat for me. The way they told the story relied so heavily on flashbacks to be able to make any sense of things later that you just wanted one basic story flow. We didn't get that. The most likable character in the series was the spirit, basically, of a guy who 100 years earlier died. Yeah, named Jack Vasalis. Now, that's a problem. He's one of your more likable characters. Well, maybe Gilbert. But you want to hear the funniest thing about Gilbert? Okay, dig this. I'm cracking up because it's another Black Butler comparison. Think about it. Gilbert is a marksman for the Night Ray house. But however, he's also the only way that Oz is allowed to use Alice's or Black Rabbit's powers for most of the series. What he does is he takes his glove off and he puts his hand over the dude's head and it breaks the seal, and then Alice can become Black Rabbit. Okay, fine. The other thing that they don't explain, well, no, let me rephrase that. They explain it in the series, but it doesn't come into play in 25 episodes, really. Dig this. Anybody that has made an illegal contract with a chain in the Abyss has what is called an incuse. The incuse is put basically over where your heart is, and it starts essentially at 12 o'clock. And it eventually, slowly, gradually moves one full revolution. When it does that, the person who made the contract with the chain goes to the deepest level of the Abyss and can never return. Now, they've explained this, and they did show it a couple times in the series. When people that had theirs make a full revolution, when they lost the battle, and also their incuse made the full revolution, so they went straight to the Abyss. That sucked. So they did have that come into play, but what was funny was, at my count, and maybe it should have been more, at my count there was 2 times in the actual series where his incuse moved. They never really put him in danger of potentially going to the Abyss and never coming back. What they said was, at one point in the series, he was the key to the will of the Abyss, which was the goal for everything. Now, okay, we knew this, and we also knew that it seemed like Brake wanted him to find the truth before his time ran out. But they never really played up the storyline. At least not to me. They did it twice, really. So that was pretty much a fail. Basically, the characters weren't as good as I was hoping. The plot progression sucked. The character development sucked. The whole story structure to me sucked, pretty much. And I hate to say it, but this is a series you can realistically just skip. Don't even bother watching it, because what you'll end up doing is getting a headache from what I seriously thought I was going to down like a bottle of Tylenol after the series, just because I'm sitting there going, what the fuck am I watching? And I still don't know what the hell I watched. That's why this review's one of the harder ones for me to do, because there were some things that were key in the story, but I had no reason to care about them, to really recite them to you, because of how scattershot it was. It was realistically one of the most boring stories outside of Black Butler's first season, because of the way it was paced. And Black Butler's first season didn't even rely on flashbacks that much, or the ones it did progressed the story enough, but I still had a hard time caring, because even though I knew what the end goal was, I felt like, did we really even get there in that series? And then they have the gall to basically give you what I feel was more or less a cliffhanger ending in episode 25, instead of just saying, okay, we're going to give you an endgame. You know, the reason I gave a series like Lakota Del Oro, Brothers Conflict, or Diabolic Lovers a pass, and by the way, we'll be doing that in another video in a minute, is because of the fact they were Otome games, so you don't really have to have a true endgame. Now, yes, there is one Brothers Conflict in Nova, but you don't really have to have a true endgame. All you need is a series that maybe promotes the game so people get interested in it. But I'll talk about that more in depth later. It was just a big clusterfuck, at least to me. I couldn't get into the story. Maybe if you watch it, you can explain to me a story better, because I couldn't have been bothered with it that by the time we got to about episode 16. Oh, don't get me wrong, there were some comedy moments, but there was nothing really to write home about that was memorable. Nothing. So it's like, what the fuck? Seriously. Do me a favor. Don't watch this series. It's not worth your time. It's not worth the investment, because they did a very piss poor job of allowing you to be emotionally invested in the characters that you're given. That's a fact. It sucks, but that's just the way it is. Anywho, I will see you. Well, the next review for you will be Christmas week. Yes, when we do the Udapri series. This is December. This is what I like to call school month. Yes. Kuroko no Basket, first season and second season rewatch today on Tumblr, and then the end of the week, or the end of the month, we get ready for Utapre, as the road to Santom finally ends. And I can't wait. We are going to be doing every episode from season 1 and 2, and for the first time, the Christmas Nova. So, I will actually talk to you in a couple minutes in the next video. But until then, take care, my friends. Goodbye.